It's time for another wrestling podcast. All right. Are you fucking kidding me?
Guys, I got blocked again on Twitter.
I'm your mark of marks.
That's the most reliable source on the interwebs.
The social assassin at your disposal, bitches.
Guys, custom titles, man. I love custom titles. Some are okay, some are great, some are just like why they even make it. And I think the new Fiend title falls into the category of why the fuck did they make it? Have you seen? You've seen it. You've seen this $6,000 fucking.
No, $6,500,
sorry.
$7,000. Oh yeah,
And with taxes and shipping, it comes out to $7,000.
God, it's just fucking. It's a plastic mask. Like it's. They took one of his masks, stretched it over fucking a piece of leather, and it's not even like. It's just it's not even like a fancy title. It's just like carved out of fucking leather, stapled together or whatever, and that $6,000. $6,000, man. $65,000.
Who's the guy who makes it? Because isn't he some giant like horror specialist or something like that? Like,
I'm not sure which one made this, but
I know exactly what you're talking about. He made the he made the actual mask, and he made the title. So it's one of the reasons why they're charging so much. Listen, if I'm paying like $6,500 plus $500 in tax, it's with shipping, it's gonna equal out to $7-something. Like, first of all, I would never pay that money for a fucking title belt. Never in my life. I wouldn't even pay that much money for WrestleMania tickets, especially if it was behind the stage.
it's not even a title. It's just not even metal on it.
Yeah. Now, even if someone were to pay that money, they better have like Bray Wyatt personally delivering it to your house. And when he walks in your house, the fucking lights better fucking go out, and he better put you in a mandible claw before he leaves.
And you should be able to smack JoJo on the ass too.
Yeah, you should get a lot of that. You should maybe be able to have the right to name his next child.
The first fucking Mark you see wearing that, just fucking take his wallet, because he's got a fucking shitload of money to fucking spend on nothing. 60. Oh, I can't wait.
You know what I do like about it, Credo? Though?
What's that?
The fact that the Fiend has the Fiend title, but when they do the Firefly Funhouse shit, Bray Wyatt is actually holding the Universal title, so that is kind of cool.
The blue title. Oh, man, I just couldn't believe the price. Like, maybe if it was like... I couldn't even see paying hundreds of dollars for that. It's a lot of fucking money for nothing. I don't know. Fucking anyway.
That's not something that you walk out of the house with, though. The whole point of that title is it's because it's made by somebody who specializes in like horror movies. He's like a legend in the business, apparently, from what they were saying on the radio. So it's pretty cool. I mean, that's not something you're gonna wear. I mean, if maybe you are, because if you have $7,000 to $8,000 to buy something like that, motherfucker, you're probably rich as fuck.
Some kid's gonna wake up on Christmas morning with the Fiend Championship.
Mommy, I want the belt, and they're like, all right, let's go look. $7,000. What the fuck?
My God, fucking Santa Claus. Guys, episode 240. This is another wrestling podcast. I'm your Mark of Marks, Credo.
I am Minority Mike.
And naturally, I'm the social assassin, Angry Cooter.
Bitches. Oh, I was gonna jump.
Oh, I gotta do the dramatic pause on you now. God damn it.
Guys, episode 240. We're climbing the ranks on our march into 2020. Joining us with JB. He's going to be talking with Jared Silberkleit. Today's show is trust fund approved because Northeast Wrestling star Jared Silberkleit is going to be joining us, talking a lot about, I guess, how he got into the business, his trust fund, and maybe he could sponsor us. Mike, you've had plenty of experience with some of our sponsors. Maybe we'll get into that later.
Yeah.
But stay tuned for that one. But Jared Silberkleit will be joining us, guys. Stay tuned for that. Guys, over the past few weeks, we've talked a lot of things. AEW, WWE. The whole build-up this year, I felt 2019 was like a build-up of when AEW is going to debut. Then they debuted. Then are they going to beat NXT or whatever? Then there was like the whole war starting. And then they started coming out with these commercials. Mike, can you explain the commercials we've seen? Because they kind of went down a notch in my book lately.
Well, the most recent commercials we're talking about, correct?
Yes.
The most recent ones, well, they took the liberty of quoting a lot of the magazines like Forbes and all this stuff, how they're demolishing or burying or blowing up NXT. And I'm a fan of AEW. I think it's a great show. I actually watch it. But they are doing a lot of things that, to me, it rubs me the wrong way, where you have a great product and you have a good show. Just stick to that formula and stop trying to bring up your competitors. But yeah, it's just that type of commercials that they've been airing lately is just, it's really, I don't really think it's cool. Like, I mean, I don't want to sound like a hypocrite because a couple months ago I was like all about how they smashed the throne. But the only reason why I was all about why they smashed the throne is because Triple H threw out the first jab. So Cody smashed the throne. There you go. You're even. Now get to work. Put on a product. You don't need to be going back and forth anymore. But, NXT lost, or NXT won the first week, and then AEW comes out and does that. Listen, NXT lost the very first week against AEW, and what did they do? They put out a press release congratulating them. And you didn't see any petty or any stuff like that coming from NXT. Yeah. And when AEW, they lost their first week, and next thing you know, you're seeing these commercials, and they're constantly bringing up like NXT, and it's like I can't defend that stuff. I could defend the product because it's good, but I can't defend the stuff like that because it's just like, come on, man.
It's because it's like AEW Dynamite buries NXT, AEW Dynamite trounces NXT, AEW Dynamite crushes NXT. Quotes from comicbook.com or Forbes and the Wrap, and it's just like, just stop comparing yourself. Just do you, stop trying to bring up that you're on with the same time as NXT or whatnot. And speaking of, I don't know when they made these commercials, but the past 2 weeks AEW lost the ratings, even though they just beat them this week again. So AEW takes the lead this week, but not by much. But at the same time, I think it's almost like, okay, look at the ratings, but at the same time, like, the ratings aren't going to, I think, tell the whole story, because I honestly haven't watched in like 3 weeks. I still got to catch up on some stuff, and all because of just the timing, and there's nothing that's really happening over there that's making me want to tune in. So, but when I saw these commercials, man, I was like, they just went down a notch in my book a little bit, because it's like, stop bringing them up, stop making it like it's this war, even though everybody wants to call it like, what, the Wednesday Night War, the new Wednesday Night War and all that stuff. But it's just like, just be yourself. Do what you guys are doing, or do stuff that WWE's not doing. Don't bring them up by name.
Oh my God. Why? Why do you make me have to be the bad guy, Credo?
Why, oh, why, oh.
Great. Your main event. We got fucking John Moxley versus Jelly Nutella. Part 2. Like, we haven't seen that. Weren't that a pay-per-view together in a match? Oh, whatever it was. Exactly. It was fucking stupid. I can't stand it. How is Joey Janela in the main event of anything? He can't draw a main event in a fucking high school gym. Okay? Stop it. Your product is okay. It's a good show. I watched it this week. There's some good stuff, bits and pieces. But from beginning to end, NXT is clearly the better show. It just is. Every division has a direction, inside as well as outside of the title picture, where you see them setting up a feud, a women's feud that is not revolved around the women's title, as well as setting up probably Shayna Baszler's most difficult matchup going to be with Rhea Ripley. They are making stars down there, and over in AEW, I think Sammy Guevara is on his 3rd fucking nickname moniker. Wasn't he like, when they started, the greatest ever or something like that? And now he's the Spanish God. I want to say he was something else before that. Some of these guys just need to find their identity and stick with it and stop flip-flopping like a fucking politician because the shit is trash.
Well,
Okay?
the Spanish God thing is kind of like a joke because Jericho calls him that. But
Doesn't matter.
listen, I
Understand
enjoy,
what I'm saying, though.
I enjoy some of the dumb things they do, the entertaining things they do over at AEW. The one thing I do enjoy is, you're not seeing like the same stuff every now and then. You're seeing different title matches. You got to see Scorpio Sky one week. You got to see Darby Allin. This coming week, we're going to see what Jungle Boy can do in the ring. I haven't really got to see Jungle Boy in a one-on-one match, so I'm interested to see how he does against a guy like Jericho. What Jericho is doing is brilliant. Because what Cooter said a couple weeks ago, and I know Cooter sticks to this, is they don't have star power. Well, what they're doing right now is they're putting these guys who don't have much star power to putting them in the ring against Jericho for title matches so they can get that star power and get themselves over. They got to get in there and actually perform. Jericho can only do so much. And I just like the fact that, we're getting different matchups. One thing I do like, and I'm going to say this right now, is they're getting it out of the way now, eventually. They're leading into a Jon Moxley, Chris Jericho feud. We all knew this was happening. We all knew it was going to happen sooner or later. I'm happy that it's happening now, that they're going to get it done and over with, and it's not going to happen at a big show like, if they have their type of like a WrestleMania big event. They're doing it now, they're getting it done, and they're going to move on from it. That's what I'm happy about.
I gotta ask you a question. You're saying they're making stars by putting them up against Chris Jericho. Okay.
They're trying to build stars, yes.
They're trying to build stars. So the guy who has great name recognition and a great little gimmick going on there, you're going to fucking job him out in the fucking tag team division week in and week out and then put him in a match against Jericho, and that's going to make him a star? How? It just doesn't work that way to me. How is he even... Why? Because he interrupted a promo? Get the fuck out of here! Come on. It just the booking doesn't make sense to me.
Well, that's what they even said too. I think they said, I didn't watch it, but they said Jungle Boy and the Luchasaurus got their first win on the TV show. So it's like I don't think they haven't even won anything, right? And now he's getting a title shot of with Chris Jericho. Then I thought the whole show too was also about wins mean something. Or, remember the whole thing?
That's my point.
No,
and he's jobbing out every week. It just doesn't make any sense.
Well, I don't think he's jobbing out. The tag team, the person that loses all the time is your favorite wrestler, Marco Stunt.
Oh, God.
Out of that tag team. But
the human dildo.
Listen, I'm interested to see what Jungle Boy has to offer. I mean, maybe he might go out there and stink the fucking place up. Maybe he might actually go out there and shock everybody and prove you wrong and prove everybody else wrong.
Whoa. I'm not saying anything bad about Jungle Boy.
I never said you did. I'm just saying.
I think he's a very talented wrestler, and I think he's really good. But what I'm saying is, if you're sitting there telling me you're building a star, that's something that's got to happen. One match isn't going to do that for you. And maybe it will, but it's so rare that it happens with just one match. You build a star gradually.
I kind of disagree there because Darby Allin was only known to hardcores, and then he had that crazy match with Jericho. It was just that one match, and now he's like a household name over there.
What are you talking about? He's had other matches besides that. That's not the one that put him on the map. The one that put him on the map was him and Cody. That's the one that really put him on the map. That was
the pay-per-view, but on the TV, the free TV, where he had that title match with Jericho. That was the match where Jericho handcuffed him. That was the match that put him on there, not the draw with Cody.
Well, either way, this week was 845,000 to 851,000, so 6,000 difference in viewers, which isn't that much, but I don't know. I agree with you, Cooter. I think NXT definitely has that better product, and I think it's one of those things where I'm more invested in those people because I've been invested with them for a few years now, and like Jericho and stuff, I don't know. Like I gave AEW a chance to where I wanted to see what they were doing. I wanted to see who's the all elite, if you will. And I feel like I've seen everything. You know what I mean? Yeah. To where you have a company of WWE to where you have quote unquote 3 brands: Raw, SmackDown, NXT, different faces, which they don't get used every week or whatnot. So you see something different, technically, every week or whatever. AEW, you're struggling with your 2 hours of the same roster every week, and it's like, to me, I'm like, I've seen it. I'll tune in whenever I want, but I feel like there's not that much of a draw for me to go in there every week until something, I think, big happens. And I was talking to my friend at work about it, and he was like, well, what would make you tune in? What would make the numbers go back up? And I'm like, I don't know. I think they need either another big name to cross over to see, get that interest in it again. Like when Dean Ambrose went, or whatever, John Moxley went over there, it was like, oh, who's going to be next? And that was kind of like an appeal to people from WWE, like, ooh, he's over there. Why is he over there? Let me tune in, see what's going on. But I feel like that's kind of fading, and it's like, well, what's going to pick these numbers up? And I feel like they need another big name, not a Jack Swagger, like a really big name to draw you in. And I don't know, I love, like you said too, Mike, I love, like you said, how, like his Scorpio Sky versus Jericho, which is awesome. It's different, and it's a good match, but it's like, I think definitely changing all that up. And going back full circle, these commercials, these ads, you don't need to mention NXT. And it just looks really bad, especially when you lost like the past 2 weekends where you didn't really pummel them. They pummeled you or whatever they fucking said. So that looked really stupid coming out after you lost the ratings in 2 weeks in a row.
Wait, do you know what was really stupid?
What's that?
Dustin Rhodes coming out dressed as one of the Young Bucks and doing dives. Get the fuck out of here. You can't open your show with that. I'm sorry. That was hot garbage. Hot garbage.
It's elite,
impressive
Scooter.
to see it. That's not elite. That's an old man waiting to be put into fucking retirement home. You keep doing some shit like that. And I love Dustin, and I think he's still capable of having great matches in his own style.
Yeah.
But
I think that was the joke, though.
It wasn't funny. It was stupid. It's like the dick flip to me. It's not cool.
And that reminds me of like when Kevin Owens did it when they were in PWG. Like he dressed like the Young Bucks, but that was a long time ago. It wasn't like.
He also wasn't 90 years old, okay?
He wasn't,
I will say one thing. I saw someone mention this on Twitter, and it does make sense to where, and I love Cody Rhodes. I do. I think, we've all discussed it. Pretty much everything that Cody touches sometimes will turn to gold.
Yes.
But he's starting to become what Ric Flair was during Nitro. Just coming out there and always cutting a promo and always doing this and that. It just reminds me too much of Ric Flair from Nitro. And I think, and he does cut some good promos, but sometimes I think it's kind of over the top sometimes. Like his promo this week was a little over the top for me, where he was burying MJF, but then he brought up NXT in his promo, which I don't like. How he brought up, there's something about the Crossroads, and now you could see it on both channels or some shit like that.
They botched it on the other channel too, or they botched his move.
It on the other channel or something like that. Like, I don't know. He's starting to come off like Ric Flair from Nitro, where Ric Flair's out there every week cutting promos, trying to cut passionate promos all the time. A passionate promo from Cody is good every now and then, but I don't want to see it every week.
Yeah, and that's Damian Priest uses that.
Well, not only that, who used to cut promos like that week in and week out, and it was driving me nuts for the longest time, was when Mick Foley was the commissioner.
Yeah.
He was always trying to get he's always trying to put on like a fucking William Shakespeare type soliloquy, and it's like, yo, dude, just shut the fuck up. I want to see the action.
I will say this. I say Cody shouldn't be going out there and cutting promos every week, but for one person who that's actually working for, I don't know if you guys watch NWA Power still, but Magnus goes out there and cuts a promo maybe once a week, once every other week, and that guy is fucking gold.
But he's the champ, isn't he?
He's the champ. He makes that 10 pounds of gold feel like it's like the greatest title in the world.
What do you think is his story? Because he's Mickie James's husband. How come WWE, NXT, nobody wanted to pick him up? I feel like even because he was a part of Global Force Wrestling, he was their main guy kind of thing too, and nobody picked him up. Why? Like, what's wrong with Magnus?
Do you think it was that, or maybe he just didn't want to go?
I don't know. I just feel like it would, especially when your wife's like wrestling on the roster, and now
When's the last time you saw her on TV anyway?
Well,
Let's be honest.
She was calling some matches, right, a few weeks ago or something. I don't know, on another like main event maybe. I don't know. I heard something that she was doing something.
You know what I think that if it was smart, Triple H should do for the NXT brand, and do this before AEW tries to do this, is to call up Billy Corgan and then kind of arrange a deal where he can get Nick Aldis to maybe defend that NWA title on a takeover. Kind of give it that spotlight, because Triple H always talks about how much he loved that NWA title because of Dusty. Nah, it was a big thing to everybody over there. So maybe give it some spotlight. It adds more to a takeover show that you're bringing in a prestigious title for a match on there just to give it a spotlight, and it also helps Billy Corgan out too. I mean, because NWA is great. Don't get me wrong; it's not competition to NXT. It's nowhere near, but it's a great show, and both parties will benefit off of it. I think they need to do that before AEW tries to do something like that.
No, I feel like just in Vince's world, another company exists. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't even want to give anybody the spotlight outside of WWE.
Hey,
and
they brought in Jushin Thunder Liger.
I know.
On contract.
And let's also be honest, they did have the Evolve card and put WWE stars on the network. So I mean, it's possible. I'd say it's a very good possibility.
Let me ask you a question, Cooter. You might be able to pick this out right off the bat. Let's just say Triple H does bring in Nick Aldis for the NWA title match on an NXT TakeOver event. If you had to pick the guy who Nick Aldis would defend that title against, who would it be? And it's not. We're not saying that he's going to drop the title. It's just a spotlight match.
I would do Adam Cole and champion versus champ if they did a kind of thing like that.
I wouldn't want to do that, because then you make
devalue your champion.
Devalue your champion, exactly. I would say, I don't want to say a Gargano, maybe a Tommaso Ciampa, or maybe a Keith Lee. Yeah. I'm big on a lot of guys over there. There's just so much talent over there that I'm really invested in. Dijak, Lee, Ciampa, Gargano, Dumb is another one. I'm really Riddle.
Yeah.
I mean, they've built a lot of guys, and Velveteen Dream is on the shelf. God knows when he'll be back. But that's another guy that that's gotten over, that they've made. I haven't seen the competition over there make anybody really, except maybe Sammy.
All right.
Well, who would you have picked?
It's tough, like you said. But I think if I would have threw anybody out there, I probably would have been either Gargano or Pete Dunne.
Well, in a pure wrestling match, yeah. But I'm thinking you want a little bit of star power to draw. Like, I think it would be interesting, because even though he's not really a champ, he's kind of like the leader of that locker room. So I think putting Ciampa in that spot is smart too, because he can go too. Yeah. So that's the only reason I really picked him. And you could say Gargano, because he's the heart and soul of NXT. But I think Ciampa can help build a match with promos and stuff way better than Gargano could. Because, I would
also put somebody in that position that can take a loss and it doesn't hurt them.
Right.
Like Gargano could take a loss. It's not going to hurt him.
So could Ciampa, though.
You think he's there now?
I think everything he does is great, because he's one of them guys who can go back and forth if he wants to. Heel, face. If he was to lose that match, he could turn heel right there, get his heat, and he'd be all right.
Yeah.
Well,
get his heat back, beat the shit out of him after the match, and send him on his way back to the NWA. Thanks for coming. Get the fuck out of here.
Well, guys, one thing we've talked about before, a lot has to do with returns and surprises and how they just don't do it anymore. I mean, like, Stone Cold's going to be back on Raw tonight, so we got to announce it, we got to tweet it, we got to let everybody in the world know to tune in. And I get it, we get it. In this day and age, you want people to tune in. No one's just going to, tune in. Or they're probably tuned out, and you want them to get tuned in, so they're going to ruin surprises. But they just announced that John Morrison, is on his way back to the WWE. I think the last time he worked there was in 2011, maybe. I think that's when he left. So it's been a while for John Morrison. He's done a lot of stuff on the outside, but he's returning. And I don't know, guys. No surprise. People are saying, why don't you wait till the Rumble to do it? And I get it, but at the same time, I mean, is John Morrison signing or returning like something you need to have as a surprise, or is it okay to just announce it? I mean, Johnny.
You know what's crazy is when I think of somebody who's been away from the company as long as he is, and they used it as a surprise, Lashley came to mind because he had a long layoff doing indies, doing MMA. He was probably gone a good 7-8 years too, you know?
Yeah.
So I think this could have been best used as a surprise for the Rumble. The only problem is he would have been off of TV for how long? And it's obvious that he's going to be going over there. It's going to be obvious anyway because you're not seeing him on Impact, et cetera, et cetera. So before it gets out, let them break their own news. That's the way they're probably looking at it.
Yeah, and what's funny is, like, I mean, I think their Facebook put it out saying, like, if you haven't seen if you don't know who John Morrison was or is in the last 7 years, here's what he's done or something like that, and that's like, wow, it's been 7 years, and that's a long time. I mean, you know, out of sight, out of mind. But he's been Johnny Impact, he's been Johnny Lucha Underground or whatever his name was on there, Johnny Mundo or whatever. But he's one hell of an athlete. We've had him on the show. Hell, I drove him up to the Civic Center or whatever for a show up here. In between all that, there's a whole
Melina left.
And Melina
left her cell phone in your car.
Left her phone in there. Yep. So a lot of things have happened, but you know, I think this guy. One thing is that he's talented. I think, you know, just what he can do in the ring is a lot different than a lot of what others can do. And I know he was a guy too that was never really great with promos, but I think within the 7 years he's been away, I think he's become a lot better than what he used to be. So I hope they do something better with him. I hope it's not like a Bobby Lashley or, you know, like some kind of mid-card push. I want to see them actually do something with John Morrison this time, Jomo. But speaking of other surprises and other returns, we just saw a little vignette for Sheamus. Sheamus is on his way back.
Oh, God.
When
did this happen?
No Mohawk. I think it was on SmackDown, and I think they showed a little promo.
Right.
So Elias returned, Kushida returned, a little returns here and there before the end of the new year. So I don't know. You guys excited for any of these names?
Who's Kushida on? What show is he on?
On NXT.
He did okay.
Yeah, came back.
I must have missed that. That must have been because I've been watching NXT on Hulu, and it's still only an hour on Hulu. So there's a segment or two that's getting cut from the original broadcast.
You might as well DVR it and get the 2 hours rather than getting the hour.
Oh, just watch it on the network the next day. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
But I mean,
that got cut, and what else got cut? Something else got cut. Motherfucker. Oh well.
Well, the only one who got cut is Dio. That's another guy that got cut. Dio Mad.
The F5.
It's
F5 from hell.
I just find this so funny. Is that like, oh, we're gonna debut a brand new look. We're gonna have new announcers and whatever. And it's like they don't even think it through, because it's like he was on the show for what, I want to say like 2 or 3 weeks, maybe tops. And then the whole Brock thing happened, and now he's going back to the performance center to work or whatever, and it's just like, why did you even bring him into that position if you really want? I don't know if it was his choice or whose choice, but you know what I mean? Like, if you really wanted him to work, why didn't you just keep him down there or whatever, working, or do something? But it's like, why bring him up just to not even use him for I don't know. It's just a waste of time, I think.
You know what the problem is he wasn't the problem. I've heard Dio Madden. He was calling. Was he calling 205 Live with Vic Joseph, I want to say?
205 Live, yes.
That's what it was. And I was like, wow, you know what? They have a pretty good sound. And when they could get Aiden English to shut the fuck up, I enjoyed the back and forth between Dio and Vic. The problem is Jerry Lawler, because he even steps on Samoa Joe. And it's like you say, it's that attitude era joke bullshit. And he's trying to be that heel announcer, and he's just trying to be funny. Whereas Vic's doing play-by-play, and Samoa Joe, when he's comfortable and Jerry just shuts the fuck up and he analyzes holds, he reminds me of the days where Taz was commentating on SmackDown, and I fucking love it.
Yeah.
Joe, when he's like analyzing a hold, he reminds me of that, or like Joe Rogan analyzing a hold when he, commentating during UFC. He's really, really good.
Yeah. And it's
Samoa Joe on commentary, I hate it and I love it. I love it because he's actually damn good, but I hate it because he's fucking damn good.
And you want him in the ring, so you don't want him on commentary.
Because when that thumb gets healed up, like, I hope they don't treat him like they treated Austin Aries. Like, I hope he actually comes back as a monster heel and he gets a monster push. But if Vince loves him on commentary, he's probably going to be parked there for a while.
Well, I was telling this the other day. I was like, if you have this third man spot open to wrestlers like Samoa Joe, who you know is going to be on the shelf for a few months, put him on commentary. Then when he's healed up, who's also behind the scenes right now, who's on the shelf for a few weeks, put them on commentary. It keeps them, on TV. You get to actually have them talk more. People can relate with him more. You kind of get more fans out of just doing this kind of role. But Cooter, man, going back to Jerry Lawler, I love Jerry Lawler. But no, man, like, his time has passed. I loved him with Jim Ross. I love the jokes in the 90s, but you're right, they don't work today.
And what's really sad is you have very, very talented commentators on the shelf that were your commentators on SmackDown. I used to love Saxton, Graves, and Phillips when they were together in NXT, and when they were on SmackDown together. I love it because it was like that well-oiled machine that you have on NXT now with Ronaldo, Beth Phoenix, and Nigel. I think they were a well-oiled machine. But the problem is now you have Byron and Phillips, and they're doing 205 Live, for Christ's sake, with fucking Aiden English. This is bullshit. Get fucking Jerry out of there and put Byron on there.
We don't even need 3 men, so we just need 2.
Yeah.
2's fine.
You bring up Phillips, Saxton, and Graves, and one of the reasons that I noticed that why they were just so good and had great chemistry is because you could just tell that they were just having fun.
Yes.
It was just 3 friends on the commentating table just having fun. I mean, they made each other pop so many times with some of the jokes that they said, especially Corey making fucking Saxton pop.
Shut up, Phillips, or shut up, Saxton. I couldn't wait to hear that.
They had great chemistry, and now it's like, I don't feel the chemistry on Raw, and that's only because of Jerry the King Lawler. And SmackDown, I mean, I love the 2-man booth, don't get me wrong, but I don't know. It's just, Michael Cole is good. He has his good days, and he has his days where he's just heavily scripted.
Yeah.
And I don't think Graves is a good fit with him. And quite honestly, I'm kind of sick of Corey Graves. Maybe it's because of the overexposure, because for all that time we had him on both Raw and SmackDown. Yeah. But, for the most part, if Graves is not with somebody who I enjoy listening to him with, I could do without him too. I mean, to me, honestly, he's 2019 Jerry Lawler. He's getting on my nerves.
And you want to know something? You talked about how much you didn't like Renee Young commentating, but if you remember that one day when Vic Joseph was on with Renee and Corey, that chemistry with all 3 of them.
Oh, yes.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And it's a shame they don't realize that, because we talked about before, NXT we all agree that has like the best booth right now for any show going right now, and works. It works, you know what I mean? So we'll see what happens if they change anything up. But poor Dio. I mean, I'm actually kind of happy for it, but we're one heart attack away from a whole new booth pretty soon, so we'll see what happens. But guys,
I hope you don't listen to the show, because he might see you at one of them Northeast Wrestling shows and fucking give you the pile driver.
Well, speaking of Northeast Wrestling, we'll probably see him, but we'll also be seeing Jared Silberkleit, the Trust Fund, coming up right now with JB.
Today, I'm always excited for these interviews. We never know who we're going to get on the show. And today we're kind of grassroots. We're homegrown. It's an amazing person that we're talking to today. He is, the benefactor of the Trust Fund, Jared Silberkleit, and we're
Wow! You actually pronounced it correctly. That almost never happens.
I said it in the mirror like 100 times before you came on, but
I hope you did.
We're super happy to have you here. Couldn't be a nicer guy. I know that we're not supposed to talk about that, but I want to.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's another rarity.
Well, I want to kind of break this. First of all, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
I get right into it, I'm sorry, I just get excited. But so, Jared, we're no stranger to Northeast Wrestling. We are based out of Poughkeepsie, New York, where Northeast has ran a plethora of times. We're also, really near where, all the shows run. But you currently are the benefactor, as we mentioned. So could you you kind of introduce yourself a little bit to people who may not know you? Just give us, just kind of the brief rundown as what you're doing currently with Northeast Wrestling.
Well, hello, listeners. I am, as you just mentioned, Trust Fund benefactor Jared Silberkleit, and that's Silberkleit. And right now, in Northeast Wrestling, I have been managing there since mid-2017. I have managed what you know as wrestlers, but what I term assets. And in the past, I represented Wrecking Ball Legursky, and most recently, the One-Man Thrill Ride and Ron Zombie for the past about a year, throughout most of 2019. Although not the last Northeast Wrestling event that took place, but the last one I was at, Autumn Ambush, back in October, there was a split. Thrill Ride decided to go off on his own, and I believe Ron may have joined him. So as of this moment, I'm off the radar right now. I'm kind of in reset mode. So I'm still working with Northeast Wrestling, very much so. But as far as when, where, and how I'm going to return and who I will be representing in the future, that right now is up in the air. But I have been using my father's trust fund money to purchase wrestlers. Thankfully, pretty much nobody is off limits for me. And over the last couple of years, I've been active at ringside, sometimes in the ring. I have competed in matches on certain special occasions. Unfortunately, usually any physicality between me and any of the wrestlers usually ends up with me coming on the short end of the stick.
Well, that's the now. That's where you are now. But let's go back a little bit. We wouldn't be doing our journalistic duties if we didn't go back in time a little bit. So let's go back. Let me ask the question to you. When do you think the first memory you have of professional wrestling is?
Well, I am unlike many who get involved in professional wrestling. You hear from so many people in the business and the industry that they were fans since the day they were born. One of their first television memories was watching WWF television or something like that. I didn't really start watching wrestling religiously until I was a teenager. I didn't start watching on a regular basis until about 2007. I mean, when I was a little kid, I lived in Stamford when I was really young, from about age 5 to 9, and I remember seeing the old now WWE, former WWF headquarters. And it's funny because I remember, asking my mom if I could go there because I thought that that's where they held all the wrestling shows. And not only did she explain to me that wasn't the case, but she also thought that wrestling was like barbaric and wouldn't let me watch it. So I had to wait till I was a little bit older, and I kind of fell out of it, but then fell back into it. Started watching when I was like 13, and it was around that time. I remember watching, those AM Raw reruns they would show around 1 a.m. on Saturdays. I remember seeing a Shawn Michaels Kurt Angle match that really got my attention. And it's funny because although I obviously kind of fell into the more theatrical and speaking aspect of professional wrestling, what initially drew me in was more of the pure in-ring storytelling and athleticism.
Awesome. So you mentioned Shawn Michaels, you mentioned Kurt Angle. Is it safe to say that those were some of your favorites growing up, or did you have favorites? How did you kind of get, because even though you've been physical in the ring, you are more of a, I'll say, like manager type. So
of course, so absolutely.
So did you? Obviously, you're drawn to like the athleticism, but who were some of the people that kind of made you say like, oh wow, this would be something that maybe I'd like to do?
Well, it's interesting because I initially didn't start in wrestling as a manager. I actually started as a ring announcer, and this is going to sound kind of crazy, but some of my early inspirations for I was drawn to promo segments for sure. So guys like Shawn Michaels, John Cena, Edge, because these are guys that were on top at the time when I started watching, really captivated my attention. Triple H a little bit as well. But because, again, I wanted to get in it initially for the announcing, the person that I emulated my voice after, or at least attempted to, were more of like the Howard Finkel and Justin Roberts, actually, because I first got into, wrestling as far as performing on events, when I was about 17 as a ring announcer and interviewer. I didn't start managing again until just a couple of years ago. And it was at that point where I was always a fan of Paul Heyman's work with Brock Lesnar, which was such a natural transition for me because the first person I started working with was Wrecking Ball Legursky. And I like to think that we were kind of like in that same vein, the manager monster pairing. So Heyman was definitely a big one for me.
Awesome. Now, we know that you're now involved, but then you were 13. You were just kind of getting back into wrestling. How far did your fandom go? Were you going to the shows? Were you wearing the shirts in school? A quick story for me is that I grew up kind of during the Attitude Era. That was the time when obviously we all got in trouble for telling our teachers to suck it and wearing the Austin 316 shirts. So how involved were you in wrestling back then? And, when did you kind of get bit by the bug, as they say, to decide that maybe this is something that you'd like to do?
Well, as far as a fan, now you just mentioned you had the benefit of, being a fan during the Attitude Era, being a little older at that time, when it was kind of more, I guess, more mainstream and you saw more wrestling shirts out in public and, at school and whatnot. And it wasn't like that at my high school really at all. I kind of got lucky in that I found my kind of niche group of friends at high school who did like wrestling, because nowadays, I think it's a lot easier now than it was 10 years ago to spot wrestling fans out in public, just because I think we're in the midst of another, boom period, and they're starting to kind of come out of the woodwork. But around that 2007, 2008, 2009 period, it's almost like when you found a wrestling fan, you were like, oh, all right, I found someone. So I kind of found my group of friends in high school from ages like 13 to 16 who were also into it. And yes, we did go to live events. I went to WWE shows a lot in Connecticut, and the first pay-per-view I went to was Hell in a Cell 2009 over at the Prudential Center in New Jersey. That was like a birthday present. And when I was younger, I always wanted to get into sports announcing. I had done like some PA announcing for Little League and stuff like that. And basically I found out through the Battle Brothers, actually, from Northeast Wrestling, because the Battles were family friends of one of my close friends at high school. Actually several of those guys. And through my high school friends, I met the Battles, who informed me about this independent company called CTWE, which ran the what's now the NEW Arena, Bethany Town Hall over in Bethany, which was one of my hometowns, one of my high school towns. My high school was three towns in Connecticut. So anyway, long story short, I got to meet the promoter and, reiterate my interest to get into announcing, and he let me ring announce, and I got involved with CTWE, became a regular over there. I shared ring announcing duties and interviewer duties for about 2 to 3 years over there. And when that company closed its doors, Northeast Wrestling took over that building, and then I joined up with NEW in that same sort of role.
Now, CTWE, we some of us that have been in the area for a while know that had some big names come through there. So we had, Daniel Bryan, Low Key came through there, and a lot of people that you're talking about that are now in, Northeast Wrestling. So for you, when you started to do that, was it something that you said, like, I'm I'm hooked now. Like there's no way that I can ever do anything else? Or was it still kind of like growing pains and learning how to do it and really hone your craft? Like, because like you said, you started out kind of doing announcing. At that point, was that kind of what you felt like that's where you're going to stay? Or is it something that you were like, I think I could grow into maybe being more of a, quote unquote, like on-air talent?
I'll be honest, at that time, during the period I was with CTWE, I never viewed myself as really going to pursue wrestling as something that I could do full-time or potentially make a living at. I always viewed it as kind of, it's a really cool thing that there's a local wrestling show in one of my hometowns, in the same town where I see all my friends and whatnot. And, I never left the state of Connecticut during those few years. I worked for a couple other groups like Wrestle Jam, but for the most part, I didn't travel really. I kind of just did the announcing. I thought it was a good way to kind of keep my public speaking skills fresh. I was starting college around that time because I graduated high school in 2011 and went to Connecticut School of Broadcasting after that, and started my 4-year shortly after. So it really was just kind of something I was doing on the side that was kind of like, I'm a big fan of wrestling, and I also get to do this stuff for this local independent and be involved. But I really never had envisioned myself becoming as much of an on-air talent as I have become now. It was really not until Northeast Wrestling, because the events were bigger and they traveled out of state frequently, that kind of broadened my horizons. Like, there's a whole wrestling world out there that I had never even had the idea to explore, really.
Now, working for Northeast Wrestling, we know that again, some of the greatest talent ever comes through there, and we could sit here pretty much all day and talk about some of the greats that come through there. So, when you started kind of working for Northeast Wrestling, was it hard to not like realize how big of a company that really was, and like how big these stars were coming through there?
Oh yeah, I mean, I definitely had my moments of getting starstruck just because I wasn't fully used to at that time being in some of those locker rooms or backstage with a lot of the talent that you just mentioned. I mean, guys like the Hardys and Ric Flair, Mick Foley, Jimmy Hart, knowing that guys like Hulk Hogan had been there in the past, Roddy Piper, Alberto Del Rio from that period, I believe around 2015. Guys like that, it definitely was something to get acclimated to at first, just because at CTWE we did have some name talent, and I think that they kind of, CTWE in its final years kind of laid the groundwork for what would become when Northeast Wrestling would take over that building full time. But it was kind of something like where you would see one guy like that at a CTWE show on occasion, you'd be like, ooh, but then NEW, when you look around, some of these locker rooms, and you can't believe at first who's there. But it was something that I got used to, thankfully. I think it was important to get used to that sort of thing before embarking on this managerial journey, because the more that I was around them, then it's like they become, your colleagues, your peers, and you're working with them in segments and stuff like that. So, I was thankful that in the years prior to that, I kind of got that starstruck bug out of my system, to where it's like, okay, now I'm ready to, get down to business.
Well, you just mentioned that, you're sharing the locker room with some of these people, and, nowadays we have the advent of the WWE Network, DVDs. Yeah. You can kind of go back and, hone in on some of these characteristics, these mannerisms of people. When you decided to kind of take that leap from just being a ring announcer or helping out, however, and then thinking, I may try to do this managing thing, did you do your homework? Did you go back and see anybody and say, like, you know what, I'm going to try to kind of maybe emulate this a little bit, or I like this, I'm going to add a little bit of that, or whatever. Obviously there's been some very historic managers over the years in all different promotions. I'm just wondering if you did that, if you went back and kind of looked at some of those people. Well,
Paul Heyman was definitely somebody who I think I'd be lying if I said he wasn't on the brain during my initial foray into managing back around mid-2017. I always tried to do my own thing. I have prided myself on when I do, I guess, my version of like tape study when it comes to getting promo ideas or character ideas. I try to stay away from wrestling as much as I can because I find that, tape study in wrestling is phenomenal for, in-ring talent and, if you're a wrestler, right? But I've always found like that in the promo department, and there are definitely things that you can learn from, but for me, I always thought that if I study too many wrestling promos for my promo content, I'm either A, going to wind up copying somebody, or B, I'm going to fall into those wrestling tropes, those wrestling isms, those wrestling cadences that I've always tried to like shy away from. I've always tried to draw my inspiration from, I've always thought of it like, when you see any form of public speaking in any form of entertainment, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, I'm talking movies, television shows, music, press conferences, interviews, sports talk shows. To me, any unbroken period of speech is a promo. And those outside sources, to me, I thought that if I can draw from cherry pick from some of that content, that's going to help me stand out that much more because they're not going to be like, oh, he's just another wrestling manager. He's this stereotype.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those businesses where you think that, that it would be easy to come up with something new, but then you realize that, it's been around for so long that sometimes it's very difficult to find your own style, so kudos on you for trying that. And so, you're here in Northeast Wrestling. You are the benefactor of the trust fund. As you mentioned earlier, you've had some ups and downs. So I'm sure a man like you is not going to just lay out what's going to happen in the future. But with such great talent in Northeast Wrestling and beyond, what are you looking for whenever you try to add somebody to the trust fund? Well, it's interesting, right? Because you're always thinking about chemistry. You're always thinking about, you want to challenge yourself by working with different types of characters. But you also, you want to find that spark, and you're not always going to have the same spark with everybody. But I think what the biggest thing for me to get over was, at first at least, was when I first started managing, I was just with Wrecking Ball Legursky. It was only me and him, and Brian Malonis came into the fold a little bit later when he was added to the faction back around early 2018. So that was a second person. But Wrecking Ball was still my full-time guy on every show from mid-2017 to mid-2018. And it almost felt a little awkward for me working with other people at first because I was used to, I almost wasn't as comfortable in my own skin, and I was like Wrecking Ball's manager, and now I kind of had to take that leap to become my own person, a manager that can go with almost anybody. And the dynamic, manager and monster with Wrecking Ball versus what I had with Thrill Ride, who obviously wasn't a guy who needed me to do his promos for him. We complemented each other nicely. So I think that experience has kind of opened my eyes to working again with different types of characters. And I look for guys who have that desire and who have, for one, a certain uniqueness about them, work ethic and talent, and someone who's going to challenge me to be the best I can be. Because that's how I felt in working with Thrill Ride. We kind of, obviously our relationship kind of went off the rails back in October. But prior to that, what I really liked the most about working with Thrill Ride was that when our promos were joint, they were almost 50-50 in a way when we were both in front of the camera. And he is so talented. He's so talented on the mic. I can't take that away from him.
And it kind of, made me want to up my game. And I loved being inspired by other talent to kind of get up to their level. They're being the best wrestler they can be. I have to be the best manager I can be.
Well, I know that you've had a lot of amazing moments in Northeast Wrestling and beyond. So what would you consider, like right now, the maybe top 3 moments of your career so far?
The top 3 moments of my career. I'm going to have to go in no particular order here. But the first one that comes to mind has to be the match that I had against Flip Gordon last summer at the event was called Long Live the King at the NEW Arena. This was my second ever full-length singles match. First one I'm actually going to talk about next. But this was me versus Flip. It was the culmination of a storyline where basically Flip had ended Wrecking Ball's undefeated streak when he defended the title against him 3 months prior. And then I negotiated for a rematch where if Flip beat Wrecking Ball again, then Flip would get 5 minutes alone in the ring with me. And I interfered, costing Flip the match, helping Wrecking Ball win, and as a result, Michael Lombardi put me in a singles against Flip with Mike himself as the referee. And to me, it was just such a different challenge for me because I'd been a manager to this point, just having my moments here and there within matches, but this was me actually, center stage as a wrestler for, really this was the most substantial as far as anything that's been asked of me from an in-ring perspective, and to get in there with Flip, with where he's at nowadays. I mean, that's something that I'll always have that memory, and just feeling the utter disdain and hatred from the crowd on that night, and then the explosion when I got my comeuppance from not only Flip but from Michael as well. It was a very special night for me, and I kind of surprised myself with what I was capable of, in my opinion. So that is something that I'll definitely never forget. Another one would be, if I had to think about it, top 3. It's challenging to do a top 3, right? The month prior, actually, this is also in 2018, was me versus Hornswoggle from WWE. This was my first official match. And this was the entire segment. The way this came together was also pretty interesting because Wrecking Ball had a gauntlet, an open challenge gauntlet. He beat 2 guys, and then Mick Foley came out almost kind of like he was going to be that 3rd guy to challenge Wrecking Ball. And we had a little back and forth in the ring. This was at Six Flags Great Adventure. This was the first of what seems to be an annual event that Northeast Wrestling is going to be holding at that park. And Mick Foley actually brings out Hornswoggle to not wrestle Wrecking Ball, but wrestle me. And, the 2 of us had a match. And this is something that I didn't find out until pretty much right then and there. Had little to no advanced knowledge that anything like this could have been happening. And that was, again, one of those moments where I never would have envisioned myself in that situation. I'm in a match with Hornswoggle, and Mick Foley's at ringside. And again, the reaction from the people was everything that we could have hoped it would have been. So that was pretty surreal. And number three, that I almost wish I could do a number 4, but I think a number 3 for me would be probably back at WrestleFest of this year, where we had the Trust Fund, myself, Thrill Ride, and Ron Zombie against Wrecking Ball, Legursky, and Bully Ray. And this was, again, another culmination of a long-term story that we had been a part of for several months after Wrecking Ball had turned on me. And for however many months, I think it was all the way from September 2018 through March of 2019, or actually this event would have been in late April, I had been sending guy after guy at Wrecking Ball, trying to beat him, and Wrecking Ball kept winning. And finally we have this tables match that ends with me going through a table, wrecking ball splashing me through it at WrestleFest in front of, I think it was either a sold out or near sold out crowd in Danbury, in a building that Northeast Wrestling has held many historic events in over the years. And again, I could just feel the fact that the crowd was invested not only in the match, but in the overarching story. And we put together a wonderful video package highlighting everything from beginning to end, actually put together by your podcast co-producer, Steve Perito. So a big shout out to him. But that was just, I love seeing stories come full circle. And I think that that's kind of the theme of all of my favorite memories here in NEW.
Well, you didn't just, lend your services to NEW. You also went to what many have called, the third biggest company, the fourth, it kind of staggers around there every now and then, but you went to Ring of Honor. So what was that experience like for you moving from Northeast to Ring of Honor?
The opportunities that I got with Ring of Honor this year, I'm very, very grateful for, and I'm hoping that they'll hopefully it means that more big things will be on the horizon for me in the near future in wrestling. And it's crazy how they came about. I made my first appearance for them in a dark match before their event in Baltimore. This was about 1 week before the week before WrestleMania 35 this year. And that I kind of just came about the day of, and Ring of Honor was the first real, I was a fan of WWE, I was a fan of TNA, and then I was a fan of Ring of Honor as a teenager growing up discovering wrestling. And to see the transformation of this company as a fan, and then all the times that I've gone to their live events, and to finally walk down that aisle and know that I'm on the other side of the guardrails now, and standing in front of the crowd, knowing that it was being filmed it was a dark match, but it was being filmed for their YouTube channel, and that was a tremendous experience. And then not only that, but the fact that I got to go back a few months later in Lowell, Massachusetts with Thrill Ride, that was also a totally surreal moment to me. We were at the Lowell Memorial Auditorium this time. While the first appearance was was in the dark match, this was on the main card, and it felt like kind of the merging of two worlds in a way, because the act between myself and Thrill Ride, our alliance that we had been fostering in Northeast Wrestling, we brought it to the center stage of ROH in front of that audience, that new audience that hadn't seen us before. And there were a few people in the crowd that did recognize us that night, but it was just a great feeling to take it to another promotion in front of a new audience and just be ourselves. So it's really one of the reasons that 2019 has been such a special year for me in wrestling. I've had so many memories that I'll cherish for the rest of my life. Even if my career could end tomorrow, and I still have so much that I thought that as recently as 3 years ago, I never could have imagined.
Well, it is very, very timely that we're talking about kind of the end of the year. We're at December right now, and 2020 is just around the corner. You've got a lot of amazing moments that happened in 2019. What are you looking forward to, both I guess personally and professionally, for the year 2020?
Well, first of all, I'm looking forward to preserving my spine. Hopefully, 2020 will bring less choke slams from people like Kaz XL, because that pretty much became the story of my summer in 2019. So staying on my feet and off my back would be the top priority. But as we move forward into the new year, what I'm really looking forward to is the fact that, so many people talk about New Year's and resolutions and fresh starts and new beginnings and all those things. And to me, this whole trust fund reset, which is kind of what I'm going through right now, finding out what's next for me in my career as far as partnerships, as far as alliances and new assets, as I like to call, it's a great opportunity for that fresh start, to reinvent myself, reinvent my brand, and I'm looking forward to finding my next alliance, my next guy, or my next guys. Maybe it's several people. I think that it's great that I'm kind of entering the new year with a clean slate to write the next chapter of my book, and I'm looking forward to new dynamics, and kind of like I talked about how Wrecking Ball and Thrill Ride in the past have forced me to challenge myself in different ways and showcase different aspects of my personality. I'm hoping to experience those similar challenges positively next year in 2020 as we move forward, and hoping to continue to be a part of some major matches and some major programs, both in Northeast Wrestling and all across the wrestling landscape. I mean, I got to do some special things this year for sure, working an extended series of matches with Thrill Ride, managing him against Kaz XL, accompanied by Enzo throughout the Northeast Wrestling Under the Stars tour, which included a main event at the Norwich show, which, I mean, that was a super cool experience as well. So sky's the limit for me as far as I'm concerned. I'm hungry. I'm ready to show people that I'm committed to staying in that spotlight and continuing to grow and seize those opportunities. And I'm excited to see what 2020 is going to throw my way, because I love the fact that I have no idea at this moment.
Well, one thing that we know is that we loved having you on today. We can't thank you enough for doing this. And obviously, please come back anytime. And we wish you the best. I know that it's easy to love to hate you sometimes. But again, it was really fun to get to know Jared Silberkleit a little bit better today. And, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you. You've actually been very appreciative and polite, considering that I bought my way onto your show without really going through the proper negotiation channels that I'm sure most of your other guests do. But I definitely enjoyed my time. I'd say it was money well spent, and I would greatly welcome the opportunity to purchase more airtime and come back in the future.
Well, absolutely. And I was going to say, if there's ever a need for a podcaster or two in the trust fund, just let us know. All right.
All right. I kind of like that. I think we might have to rename the show to Trust Fund Talk.
Hey, that sounds great. New year, new us.
Yeah, we'll get you a nice new blazer. I mean, not as nice as mine, of course.
Of course.
But we'll up your wardrobe a little bit, help you become a little bit more trust fund approved. Credo too. Credo knows what I'm talking about.
All right. Well, we thank you so much, Jared, and have a great new year. And we're looking forward to seeing you in Northeast Wrestling again soon.
Sounds great. Thank you. And it won't just be a great new year. It will be trust fund approved.
Guys, once again, thanks to Jared Silberkleit, Northeast Wrestling, the Trust Fund. We're Trust Fund approved now.
I have a funny fucking story to tell you, too, about one of our sponsors.
Why do I have a feeling it's Blue Chew?
Did somebody get pregnant off our promo code? What happened?
No. So, the night before my surgery, this one girl I know wanted to come over and hang out, calm my nerves. So I'm like, all right, cool. Because I was freaking out because since it's the eye, it's considered a major surgery.
Yeah.
So I'm like freaking out. So like that, I've never had a major surgery done before at all. So she comes over, hangs out. I said, you know what? I just want to like fucking just get crazy. And I popped a Blue Chew.
Oh my gosh.
So then reality hit me. And I'm just like, was it a good idea to eat that the night before surgery?
Oh no.
So I went on Google.
Oh
and
man.
I looked it up, and the first fucking thing I see is it's highly recommended you do not take in any Cialis, Viagra, Blue Chew 24 hours before surgery because it could dangerously drop your blood pressure dangerously low to a point where you could have a stroke right
Yep.
on the fucking table.
Oh my.
So now my nerves fucking went nuts. I'm freaking out, man. I am panicking. I call my cousin Johnny. He knows. Cooter, you know Sexy Slim.
Oh, of course.
Guy knows the answer. He knows the answer or the remedy to anything. And I'm freaking out. I'm like, Johnny. He's like, what's up? He's like, I ate a Blue Chew. He didn't know what a Blue Chew was. He's like, what the fuck's a Blue Chew? I'm like, it's like a Cialis. It stays in your system for 36 hours. He's like, can you have a surgery? What, are you fucking stupid? I'm like, I wasn't thinking. I don't know what the fuck to do. He's like, all right, nigga, this is what you're gonna do. He's like, you got vinegar? I'm like, yeah, I got vinegar in the cabinet. He's like, normally it's a teaspoon, but you ain't got time to fucking do that. What time? He's like, it's about 8 o'clock right now at this time. He's like, you can't take in anything after midnight, right? I'm like, yeah, I can't take anything in my stomach. He's like, you got 4 hours. Like that. He's like, take a teaspoon of vinegar right now, whatever you got. Take it down, go to the store, get a gallon, 2 gallons of water, and try to take in 1.5 gallons of water before midnight.
Oh my God.
Flush your system. So I'm fucking pacing around my fucking apartment trying to chug as much water as possible without putting my body through shock. Like that. And I'm freaking out, and I'm trying to look up. I messaged Blue Chew.
Oh my
Too.
God.
I'm talking to one of the fucking live reps. I'm talking to Blue Chew, like the live reps, trying to ask them questions just to confirm if I'm gonna die or not tomorrow. I just need to know this. And I'm looking up other stuff. I was like, how to flush it out of your system quickly, like that. I literally chugged 1.5 gallons of water in 4 hours. And I've never been so paranoid in my fucking life. I got to the hospital the next day, and my cousin came with me. He's like, yo, if they ask you, you better tell them that you ingested it. And I'm like freaking out. I was like, it's kind of embarrassing, especially the nurse is fucking hot.
Well, you're not you glossing over the most important part. Did you drop a pint of banana juice on this chick, or were you like, oh shit, I shouldn't have done that, and then fucking started freaking out?
No, I wasn't thinking until she left. And then when she left, that's when like reality hit, and I was like, maybe I shouldn't have took this. And then once I saw, the first thing I saw when I Googled it, the whole warnings and all that stuff, dude, I've never been so paranoid in my fucking life. I was freaking out, man.
Cooter,
I thought I was gonna die. I was like calling my parents, like just letting them know how much I love them. Like, you're just going to surgery, you'll be all right. I'm like, I hope. You never know.
Cooter, if he would have died, we would have been like, holy shit. And then like months later, the story comes out that he popped the Blue Chew. Now, me and you were going to be looking at each other at the funeral being like, oh my God, he got it off the promo code. It all goes back to the damn...
Goddamn sponsor killed somebody on our show.
It would have all come back to us, Cooter. And then like we're getting sued because we had the promo code and then he had the drugs. I'm like, oh my God, we killed him.
The
Do
worst
you know what
part is,
this
like,
reminds me of?
what?
You guys ever see that movie Something's Gotta Give?
Yeah.
Long while ago.
It's Jack Nicholson and what's her fucking name? That old hag. But the point was when he goes to have the heart attack and he's in the hospital and they went to give him some like nitroglycerin or some shit like that. And they asked him if he took any Viagra or anything like that. He's like, no, absolutely not. Because he was about to dump the load on the daughter. So he popped the Viagra. He goes, oh, good, because I'm about to give you some nitroglycerin, and this will for sure kill you if you ingest. No, I took Viagra.
Yeah. No, well, I made it through.
Wow.
I made it through the surgery. The anesthesia did not kill me. So, you understand. Like, the nurse was like, you don't have to be so nervous. It's okay. I was like, if you only knew. I'm alive, and I didn't, pop one on the operating table. The
Can
Bluetooth.
you imagine that?
God.
They're working on his eye, and all of a sudden, he's got a pencil box.
And the funny thing, during the surgery, like, I can communicate. I was awake. So if they ask questions, I'll just, it's bluetoothjob.com. From AWP. That's a good commercial right there. I'm on the operating table, and the Blue Chew kicks in.
I'm still going back to it, man. If you died and that happened, like, it would have been horrible, but at the same time, like, me and Cooter would have known, and then it would have come out like, hey, what happened? Did they ever find out what happened? What happened to Mike?
I don't know if I could go to. I wouldn't have been able to go to your funeral, bro.
They were like, well, yeah, we found Blue Chew in his system. I'm like, Cooter, the first time we would have found that out, like, I'm calling you, you're calling me. I'm actually picking up the phone this time because I'm gonna be like, it was the Blue Chew. It was like,
I wouldn't be able to look Sexy Slim in the face, bro. At your funeral, I wouldn't be able to do it. He'd be like, yo, you gave him dick pills, bro? You gave him dick pills? What were you thinking, bro? I didn't give it to him.
I'll tell you something, man. Johnny, my cousin, if you ever have a situation, whether you're hooked up with a chick that's a burner, whether you need to tell if the chick's a tranny or not, where you need advice like just off the wall shit like that, you contact him, he will have an answer for you in under a minute.
Shout out to Sexy Slim, goddammit.
He will
Shout
have
out
an
to
answer
Sexy
for you
Slim.
in under a minute. He knows how to react in situations, what to do. When I called him up, freaking out that I popped a Blue Chew the night before surgery, he knew exactly what to do. It's like he's done this before.
that instinct.
I was pissing so much, man. I was trying so hard because I've heard horror stories of people who've chugged large amounts of water in under like 3 hours, and their body goes through shock.
Yeah,
so
I'll watch all the sodium out.
I'm sitting there like, I hope I don't fucking die in here.
you could have died multiple ways.
I've actually had that happen to me. I was at a bar, and the bartender pulled out a fucking gallon of water. He says, if you could drink this gallon of water in 5 minutes, he goes, I'll let you drink here for tonight for free. I was like, all right, motherfucker, I'll take that bet. Bro, let me tell you, because I had drank a bunch of fucking fruit punch. I think we were mixing, what's the grain alcohol? So we were mixing that with fruit punch. So I had a nice little buzz going. But the point was, chugging. I got 5 minutes to drink this thing. I'm like 3/4 of the way down. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to get this. And he looked worried, like, oh, shit, he might actually do this. Well, once I got to that last quarter and I started drinking, all of a sudden I just fell right over, bro. My body just gave out on me. That is no joke.
I thought it was going to happen to me.
Everybody started laughing. I ended up going in. Well, I get the last laugh. You know why? Because I had to run to the bathroom. And next thing you know, I'm puking all over the urinal. It looked like fucking period blood all over the... Because all the fruit punch came up. It's all over the floor, on the toilet. I fucking puked everywhere. Fuck you, motherfucker. Clean that shit up, because your ass did that to me.
But like, it was the night that the Survivor Series is on, too. So I'm trying to watch Survivor Series and pay attention to that while I'm freaking out trying to chug water.
I was wondering why you were so quiet in the chat.
Yeah, and then the walkie out. I wasn't talking that much in the chat Survivor Series night because I was trying to like save my own life. You know, I was trying to flush the Blue Chew out of my system the best I can. And the advice he gave me, I guess it worked because I'm alive. I did not have a stroke on the operating table.
Wow.
Do you remember when you were always ready to go? Now you can increase your performance and get that extra confidence in bed. Listen up. You can take them anytime, day or night, even on a full stomach. And since they're chewable, they work up to twice as fast as a pill, so you can be whenever an opportunity arises.
That's BlueChew.com. That's blue, like the color blue.
Blue Chew is prescribed online and is shipped straight to your door in a discreet package. So no in-person doctor's visits, no waiting in line in the pharmacy, no, hey guys, got your dick pills over here ready? No, best of all, it's just no more awkwardness. It's the best thing. They're going to send it to your house in a discreet... No one's going to know that you're getting dick pills in the mail.
That's true, because, guys, right now, we got a special deal for our listeners. Visit BlueChew.com and get your first shipment free when you use our special promo code AWP. Just pay $5 for shipping. Again, that's BlueChew.com, BlueChew.com, promo code AWP to try it for free.
That's right. They're made in the USA, and since Blue Chew prepares and ships direct, They're cheaper than a pharmacy. What else could you want, bitches?
Blue Chew is better, faster, and the cheaper option. And we want to thank Blue Chew, us, from Another Wrestling Podcast, for the sponsorship.
Guys, I wanted to talk to you about something. Maybe you could bring it up. Maybe you have some personal stories about this we could just mention briefly. Have you ever been burned by a wrestler in real life that maybe you were either going to go meet them or you saw them, and just from that moment on you just hated them, no matter what they've done in their career? You just always go back to that one moment. I have two wrestlers that have happened with me, and I'm like, I can't get over this or whatever happened, and I'm like, I still hate them no matter what they do. I just hate them.
I know which one yours is.
I have two, though.
One of them is Tommaso Ciampa.
That's right. And the other is Dean Ambrose.
I was gonna say that because Mr. Happy Face.
Mr. Happy Face. Well, that not because of recently. It all goes that. So okay, here's the whole story, really quick. When we first started the podcast, of course, we just go ask people to be on it. And I remember we asked Tommaso Ciampa at a Northeast Wrestling show if he'd want to do the interview. And without even saying, hey guys, no, sorry, thanks for asking me, or whatever, it was like, I forget the exact words. I'm trying to think. JB would know this better, but I know we went up to ask him, and he's like, don't do that. He's like, I just want to wrestle. And like just the way he said it was so like weird, like you didn't have to even say all this. All you had to say was, no thanks, guys, but I appreciate it. I'm busy, whatever. I got to walk the dog. I got to take a shit. Something different. but it was like, I don't do that. I just want to wrestle. Or something like, it was like, all right, you're a fucking whatever. So that it was just the way he responded to us kind of like, it was just like a fuck you to me. So I was like, fine, fuck you. And then the other one was Dean Ambrose. It was at WrestleMania, All Access, so we waited for fucking ever to fucking meet the Shield. We waited, and we get up to him, and he was just the most miserable person to fucking... Like, you can't even say hi, or, like, it was just sign it and hand it, and it was just like, why are you even fucking here? You wanted to be this person, and you're not even being that person. So ever since then, I hated Dean Ambrose. It was just like one of those moments, but have you guys ever had a moment, especially you at home listening, if you ever had that moment... Let us know, anotherwrestlingpodcast.com. Tweet us, Facebook us, whatever.
Mike, I know who Mike has.
Who do you have?
You have Sanjay Dutt.
I forgot about that one. That wasn't the one I was going to bring up, but I'll bring that one up in a minute. I'll tell you a funny story. So this was back maybe 2006, 2007, I want to say. It was a SmackDown house show at the Mid-Hudson Civic Center in Poughkeepsie. And me and my friends would always go early and stand out back when the wrestlers pulled in.
Who was on the card?
I'll tell you, one guy I know for sure was on the card, and it was Batista.
Okay.
I remember one of the matches was, I think it was Elijah Burke versus CM Punk.
Oh, wow, okay.
I want to say... I remember Mark Henry came back from injury before he came back on TV. He was debuting there. And we had front row seats too, which was awesome. But I remember that show because me and a group of friends, we used to roll deep to these fucking shows. It was like 7 or 8 of us. We would go to the back, hang out for when the wrestlers pulled up, and we would try to get pictures or stuff like that. And then we saw Batista pulling in, right? And he pulls in, and I don't, like, right towards the back, where you guys, and then people at home aren't going to know the Civic Center, the layout, how the back is, but it's not that big. And it's actually kind of narrow and tough, but people are pulling in their cars. Batista pulls in, and we're standing probably, I want to say maybe 10 feet away from Batista's car. And we're yelling for Batista to come over, take some pictures. He looks at us through the window. Doesn't even get out of the car, just gives us this look, emotionless look. Not even happy. Sits there for like a minute. Opens the door finally. And instead of getting out of the car and just walking straight to the door, he actually gets out of the car, walks around the back of the car, to the other side of the car, where now the car is between us and him, and it walks around all the other cars so we don't go to him. And the look he gave us was the nastiest fucking look we have ever gotten from a professional wrestler. Like, he wanted nothing to do with us. And from that day forward, we hated him because he didn't give us... Now, the Sanjay Dutt story.
That's my favorite.
I've told this story a couple times on this podcast. So
I think we have video footage of this, too.
there is video footage. It's on my computer. I have to find it.
Yes, you do.
But for the people who don't know this story, so Cooter and I went to a Global Force Wrestling show.
The only Global Force Wrestling show at the Civic Center.
That's right.
That was funny because you and JB were working the boards that night.
1/22/16, 2016.
And there was an autograph signing beforehand. So, I met Colt Cabana, I was talking to some other people, and then there is Sanjay Dutt. And I was familiar with Sanjay Dutt from TNA, the X Division. I thought he was pretty good. So I went to him, and I'm just like, I would definitely like to take a picture with you. And then he's like, oh, no, pictures, yeah. It's, I believe it was like $5 for pictures or something like that. And we take a picture, and all I had on was a 20. So I'm like, okay. He's like, oh, all right, well, let me go get you some change.
Oh, no.
Okay. So he takes my $20 bill, runs off, comes back. He's like, oh, I couldn't get any change, but here's an 8x10 I signed for you. And it just hands it to me. Doesn't even say, like, thank you or anything like that. Just hands me the 8x10 quickly and then goes back to making money off of other people.
Oh, my gosh.
And I'm standing there like, just like, this motherfucker just gave me, what the
He was
fuck
so mad.
do with a fucking 8x10? And then I'm watching him, and I'm fucking watching him. He had change. He had change. I was so mad. I was telling I wanted my $20 back.
No, as he's going to the ring, you just see Mike get so mad and Steph goes, I want my fucking change. And then you look on the stage where Credo and JB is, and Credo's just shaking his head like, oh no. Like, I'm never bringing you can't bring you guys anywhere.
He robbed me of $20. That picture I took with him wasn't even worth $5. He robbed me of $20.
I've never had a bad interaction with anybody. I really haven't. And as a matter of fact, any interaction that because I try to avoid it because I don't like talking to people. I just don't. I don't want to be that guy who does interviews or takes pictures. It's like some guys, yeah, sure, but I mean, for the most part, I kind of like to be left alone too. You know what I mean? But anytime I do have interaction with people, like the Marty Jannetty one or the Sabu one, Credo, you remember that one. You're like how I parlayed that one that night. He's like, oh shit.
That's another good story.
Oh, that's a great story, which we can't tell.
I know. Well, you're speaking that you don't have any ones. I go back to this. This is years ago, and I'm trying to remember the whole story as you're talking. The Raz, a friend of the show from Poughkeepsie, right?
Oh, that's right. I was gonna bring this one up.
The Just Incredible one. The Just Incredible story, and I'm trying. So, if for those of you who don't know, Just Incredible, ECW, right? Aldo Montoya, for those who are listening.
TJ Polacco.
Yeah. So, he's so bizarre to me, and here's the thing: I forget whose autograph signing it was. Collector's Realm.
I think it was Sabu.
Was it Sabu? Somebody. It was Collector's Realm in Poughkeepsie.
Or Sandman.
Somebody in Poughkeepsie. Maybe it was like Jimmy. No, it was like Jimmy Hart was there or something like that. And so yeah, so it was like some random name like that. It was like a Jimmy Hart or Bret Hart or something was up there.
Was it Collector's Realm?
Yeah, Collector's Realm when it was in Poughkeepsie. So here's the thing. So it was advertised. I'm just gonna say it was Jimmy Hart. And Jimmy Hart, the Mouth of the South, is going to be here between 1 and 3, coming, get autographs and signing pictures. So everybody's going to see Jimmy Hart. And then all of a sudden, Aldo Montoya, Just Incredible, he just comes and is like, sets up shop in the same room where Jimmy Hart is just to sell autographs. He brings like this little briefcase and he pulls out 8x10s. But it's not really 8x10s. It's just computer paper he printed with his picture on it. And and there's no sign for whatever. And I think it was the Raz that asked him. I think he was the first one for this to happen to. And I remember watching it. And I'm trying to remember because this is like years ago. This is probably 2013 or 12 or something like that. And it was like he gave him, like without even him asking for it, he gave him a picture that he signed, that he printed out from his computer, and then he's like, $10, please. Like he's like, wait, what? So he hustled him for $10 of his own fucking autograph, and it was just like, I didn't even want to meet you. You put this in my hand, and now I got to pay you $10. It was like, it was so sad. And then they had to kick him out because he wasn't supposed to be there. And then after that night, Justin Credible would show up at all these other autograph signings and just plant himself into these autograph signings just to try to make money. And I think the guys had drinking problems or whatever kind of problems, but like it was so bizarre because it was like every time there was a signing on, we had to get security to make sure Justin Credible wouldn't show up. Or
and
like
that would be the thing. He would show up at a lot of Northeast Wrestling shows.
Yeah,
he would just be in the crowd, and he would be sitting there. People would walk up to him, and he would just be sitting there. Oh yeah, I'll take a selfie with you, but he was charging people like $10 to take selfies in the crowd.
Who was first, him or Virgil?
Oh, Virgil's got him beat, but that was I'm pretty sure that was the Sabu signing, because I remember that, and I remember and that was the running joke, is that we had this computer paper signed fucking photo of him, and for months and months and months when we would do marked up, we would try to use it as a fucking like as a whatchamacallit, like a prize or something.
Try to give it away. Couldn't even give it away.
We couldn't give it away for free. Nobody wanted this fucking thing. The Raz, I don't know, man. That was probably one of the funniest things I've ever heard.
Well, how about, okay, one more story of Justin Credible, because this goes back, I think, a year or two before that incident, and it was at a big autograph signing where he was actually booked to be there. And this is like when the WWE Encyclopedia was brand new, and, you know, everybody's like getting it signed, and I was all about it. I have it signed by a bunch of people, but I'm kind of like, whatever anymore. Anyway, whatever autographs, it was in Danbury, Connecticut. I think this might have been the Ric Flair place. I'm not sure.
The Big Time Wrestling show.
It was a Big Time, yeah. So it was like Honky Tonk Man was there, Greg Valentine, and so on and so forth. And so I was trying to get my book signed. So I give it to him to sign under. I don't know what he signed under, but I think I gave it to him to sign under Justin Credible. And then he's like, "Oh, I'm in here 2 other times for Aldo Montoya and." Some other faction for ECW or whatever. He's like, do you want me to sign there too? I was like, yeah, sure. And he signed 3 pages, and he's like, oh, that's going to be 30 because I signed 3 times. I wanted to fucking like smack him with my book because he signed his name 3 times. It was more money. It was just like he couldn't just sign his name next to the picture. I'm like, this is fucking ridiculous. Like is this what it's come down to, Justin? Am I like paying your mortgage now? Like, because you signed your name 3 times? My goodness, you can't even be thankful for the fans even wanting your autograph. Now it's like, it started to break down, I think, from that moment. Then he just kind of inputted himself into all these autograph signings and his little fucking homemade printer 8x10s. Sad story. I don't know. But,
all right, I do have one.
Uh-oh, we got one.
It wasn't like I got burned, but it was very awkward.
Oh yeah.
So it was right before it was a couple of hours before the Iron Sheik roast where we went to. That's the same night where I met Janetti and that famous story happened, and then fucking. But I mean, I got at this place not realizing that I didn't want to hit traffic, so I got there like 3 or 4 hours early. So you know what? I'll just hang out at the bar, get drunk, eat something, whatever. And little by little, guys just started walking in. Scott Hall came in, Jake Roberts was in there, and then Virgil came in, and that was fucking hilarious. But before anybody really came in, I saw a guy. I didn't recognize him. I had no idea who the fuck he was. And I'm sitting there drinking, and he's ordering like 4 or 5 different drinks, and he's not a waiter. So I'm like, where are you going with all those? I'm like, you want me to give you a hand? I don't mind because I'm not fucking doing anything. And he said, yeah, sure, you don't mind? I'm like, I'm bored. It's fucking show doesn't start for like 3 hours. I'm like, I might as well do something, right? He was like, yeah, sure, why not? I walk in the room, and the first person I see is fucking me and Gene Oker, and I'm like, oh, shit. And everybody's looking at me like, who the fuck is this asshole holding our drinks? And I remember Sean Oliver was in the room. What the fuck was his name? Like a Miami Vice, the Hawaiian
Don
guy.
Morocco?
Don Morocco was in there.
Yeah.
That's right. That was the other guy I recognized right off the bat, and they were all looking at me like, who the fuck are you? I'm like, it was just awkward. I'm like, hey, I'm just helping the guy carry drinks. I'm going back to the bar. And he's like, and Sean's looking at me. He's like, oh, you, because he saw that I had the badge for the show.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, you're at the VIP signing. I was like, yeah. I'm like, I just coming from pretty far distance. I got here mad early. He's like, oh, well, thanks for coming. I'm like, all right, I'm going back to the bar now. Like, peace. But there must have been like 5 or 6. Kevin Sullivan was in there. Was another one. But it was just very awkward, and they're just all looking at me like, who does that? I'm like, oh, okay, I'm weird for being a nice guy, but I walk in a room with a bunch of fucking former stars and shit, like. I mean, that's the closest to a bad experience. It was just awkward.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't expecting it because he didn't warn me ahead of time.
Either way, it's not as awkward as taking a blue chew before major surgery.
You're never gonna let that die, bro.
We're never gonna let Mike die. We're never gonna let Mike die.
My stupidity, I'll never do that again. My advice to everybody, if you have surgery, before you take anything, whether it's Blue Chew or fucking, I don't know, drugs, maybe you should Google it before you're having surgery. Just a thought.
Google it.
Don't do what I did.
You know what I'm gonna do for you, Mike? Because you survived. I'm going to take you to the Olive Garden and get you some breadsticks and meat sauce. Me and my good friend, Soul Train Jones.
Google it. I think you're going to get a new shirt soon, Mike. Google it. All right, guys. AnotherWrestlingPodcast.com. Till next week, and whatever remaining weeks we have left in 2019, because 2020 is approaching, fellas.
And I'm hating life right now, so fuck you bitches.
Enjoy life, man.
I work for the post office. This is not the time of year where I can enjoy it. Thank you.
That's right. So if you guys are getting anything for your loved ones this holiday season, Amazon.com is the place to go. Keep Cooter working through the weekends and through.
I got kids to feed. No, I don't.
Well, there you go. Until next time.
Bitches.